All right. We want to welcome everyone to the first in a series of three discussions about the new arena coming to Palm Springs, California, in the Coachella Valley sometime next year. In this first discussion, we'll take a look at the design of the arena and the area where it will be built. Before we get to that, I want to welcome the architecture design team from Kansas City, architect Robert Norvell, interior designer Whitney Williams, and architecture designer Scott McCracken. Welcome, you three. Really appreciate you taking the time to visit with us about the project today.
Yeah, of course.
Thanks, Andrew. Thanks for the
Yeah, so
introduction.
as we visit, we're going to allow the design team to share some of the renderings with us that have not been previously released to the public. And those renderings should help everyone visualize, the things we're talking about here. So your firm, real quick, has designed several sports arenas. One that comes to mind, especially for people here in the desert, is T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, which Robert, of course, I know you played a role on that specifically. It was completed in 2016 for hockey, live music, boxing, and a lot of the events that this arena in Palm Springs will host. So I wanted to ask, first of all, um, it seems like this arena, every arena design that you all design, seems to be really specific and unique. And I was wondering what is it that makes this arena coming to the Coachella Valley unique, and what was some of the inspiration that you all took in designing this?
Thank you, Andrew. This is a unique project. It's a really interesting area. Coachella Valley is known throughout the world for the music festivals and being in the music scene. So we took a lot of inspiration just from the kind of the local aspects of the culture that is Palm Springs. You've got Coachella Valley, you've got Palm Springs itself, you've got the influence of the Alcalente tribe. So we had a lot to draw from. I also opened the door to Scott and Whitney, who are our two designers, and kind of their influence. And we'll get more into that when we get into renderings as well.
Yeah, sure. I'd love to chime in on this because it really is a cool story for this arena. It's a 10,000 seat arena. It's mid-size. It's located just between Phoenix, LA, San Diego. So it's really this confluence of all these different mega cities, and the architecture of Palm Springs itself is, as everyone knows, a mid-century mecca. So we really wanted to pay heed to that, and you'll see a lot of that on our interiors. Our interior story looks at that closely, but the exterior of the building is really all about desert architecture, and so you'll see all these really cool forms, these windswept forms that time has really shaped the building, and that's really what we wanted to look at. And you'll see landscaping and the renderings, this kind of oasis of palms in the desert, and that played a big part of our story as well.
Yeah, and I know Whitney. Before we get to the design, I know that the desert landscape and the Palm Springs, the kind of iconic Palm Springs feel really played an influence on that design. And I want to ask you about that here in a minute. But first I want to ask Robert. T-Mobile Arena was designed as a hockey arena for live music and boxing and some of these other events. How did that experience working on that project help you here?
Oh, it's extremely beneficial. I'm taking a project from a similar climate and working in the same desert climate here. Also, two very similar buildings, not in capacity. This is about half the capacity that T-Mobile is, but it definitely informed how these buildings work, how they can be utilized, how they can help a community, how they can energize the community, bring a lot of excitement to the community. And just think about Vegas going to the Cup on their first year and how it just revitalized that city, especially after that tragedy, the mass shooting tragedy, and how it kind of brought the city together. And the ability for these venues and these teams to kind of draw a community together and really kind of create unity.
Did it help with some of the design that you would be, designing a hockey arena and that would also host live music? And I imagine the design configurations may have been similar. Is that fair to say?
That is fair to say. Both. The funny thing is about T-Mobile, we designed it before we even had a team there. So it was primarily a concert venue first, which is actually very similar to this arena, being a concert-focused arena. Now we have the AHL team that's coming down here, which is part of the NHL expansion team from Seattle, the Kraken. So very kind of similar story to tell on versus how these are set up and were influenced to how they function.
So the seating for this was initially around 10,000. Is that where it's headed right now?
Right. Yeah. I'll go through the numbers as you can see that we've got pulled up on the screen. Hockey, we're sitting around 9,918 seats. Concert, we're at 10,955 seats for an in-stage configuration and 11,679 seats for center stage configuration. We also have the ability to do basketball events. We're sitting around 10,815 seats for that.
That's great. So for those tuning in, just want to remind everyone, this is the first of 3 episodes where we'll be discussing the new arena coming to the Coachella Valley in the next year sometime. The next episode 2, will drop February 22nd. In that, we'll discuss the location of the arena in Palm Desert and why some believe that it is a much better location than the downtown Palm Springs area, which was originally slated for the arena. So Whitney and Robert and Scott, I want to ask you specifically about the interior design of the arena. I know this is where Whitney has really played a big role. And when we've previously talked about how there is that old Palm Springs feel, and there was inspiration that was pulled from the Frank Sinatra estate. And I was hoping you would please show us some of the renderings and how the team went about researching this Palm Springs area to add that Palm Springs feel in this arena.
Well, certainly. And, Scott and Robert, others on the team who aren't on this call, were hugely integral in developing this design and coming up with this product that we're really proud of. And we think it will be an amazing venue. It was a little intimidating at first, given that, desert modernism, an iconic style of architecture, quite literally originated in Palm Springs.
Yeah.
So, and knowing that this is an arena and this is not a residence that we can, have the side of a mountain carved out of the living room. I mean, we all know the several of the iconic homes and structures and amazing architects with this style that started in the 1920s and is so important to this area. And so because we were doing an arena, we had to modify it. We definitely wanted to pay homage to it, but we did not want to sort of try to copy it in the form of a sports arena. So we also wanted to pay homage to the landscape, as Robert mentioned, the tribe, the history, the culture of the surrounding areas. So we just took a lot of those influences that are there, that have been there, that are part of Palm Springs, and let that influence the design through the materiality and some of the themes that we came up with for the clubs and some of the concourses. And we had a lot of fun doing it as well. I don't know if you want to flip to the rendering, Scott.
Sure.
Our most premium club, the Bunker Club.
Get there. Yeah, so let's start here.
So, and I do, Scott, definitely after we touch on this, I think the story of how you design the exterior is definitely worth telling as well. So I think you should definitely hit on that. But our most premium club, the Bunker Club, we did look at it, how it evolved. It's kind of an old Hollywood throwback club where we were paying homage, but again, we are in a sports arena, so the finishes have to be extremely durable. You know, we
Mhm.
did not have $2,000 a square foot to outfit and so, but just looking at, you know, again, the Rat Pack and Frank Sinatra and the places that they would, um, you know, they'd come on the weekends, and Frank Sinatra's Twin Palms estate. Again, that was all the desert modernism.
Yeah.
So we did a lot of kind of brass and green with the Bunker Club. Um, and then looking at taking that a step further and coming up with a totally different aesthetic, but still playing on that theme. And we have two bars on the main concourse, and just a very bright sunshine, thinking about a day at the pool. You know, we went through some vintage photographs, and obviously there's I mean the iconic Slim Aarons photographs, and um, so we wanted to pay homage to that too, but again, not so literal that it's um, that we're copying something that has done so that has been done. So we have, you know, in the bar images you see it's an acoustically treated baffled ceiling element, and then we just did some kind of just fun elements. The bar front, it's a small mosaic tile to emulate and sort of represent what you'd see in a pool, and just had some fun with putting in the no diving and in tile and 3 feet on the other side, things like that. So there were certainly elements of this project that um, you know, the owner was willing to let us have some fun with, which is great as a designer. And I think it really gives each space its own personality.
Yeah, well, it's a pretty remarkable space. Looking at it, you definitely feel like it's Palm Springs, like it's the Coachella Valley. And so I think you definitely accomplished the goal there. I think a lot of people are going to be really excited about that.
Well, thank you. That is always nice to hear. And we certainly hope so. We are definitely excited about it. So,
Yeah. Well, you know, Whitney, you had mentioned Scott's role in the exterior, and that was going to be my next area where I was hoping we could move. So we've looked at the interior. I'm sure we'll see some more. We can circle back here shortly to some interior as well. But let's move to the exterior right now. Scott, tell us what we're seeing and some of the things that you wanted to accomplish in the exterior. I will say that one of the things I really like are the balconies that face some of those spectacular views in the desert, and then you have the indoor outdoor common areas, which is very much what is done here in the desert. People like to have outdoor living rooms in a way. Seems that you've accomplished some of those things. Your team has accomplished those things with this arena. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. When we started this, that's exactly where our head was at. Was, you know, what is desert climate? You know, it gets very hot, as we all know, in the summer months. So when you have events here, you have to have a shade canopy. So for the exterior at the main entry, we have this really cool form that, you know, it went through so many different iterations of process, but we really love it because it pulls away from the building. It allows the trees and landscaping to touch up against the building, and it sort of just wraps its way around the whole side of the building to give shade to the building. And so underneath that, we also have outdoor concessions. So we have the ability for patrons to go in and out through the main concourse and to get outside, and you know, their food and beverage is all out there. They have options inside, but we really want to take advantage of the climate here and do something that's totally different than what you'd see at any other arena. And that's exactly what this is. And it's a really cool offering. And you also mentioned the balconies. That's something that we talked about. So each of the clubs on the premium concourse level have the ability for patrons to get out, stand outside and look at the mountains, the San Jacinto mountain range, and look to the golf course to the north of the site. There's just really a lot of great views from this building. So we wanted to give patrons the opportunity to get outdoors and see that. So you can see that here in this rendering. You can see the outdoor concessions in the previous rendering. And yeah, one more thing I'll add is I do think that our landscape team did a really great job with kind of nestling this building into this oasis of palm trees. Palm Springs has a really cool history of, if you visit their cultural center, this the water that's formed by the palm trees that gives life kind of in the desert, and that's really the theme of the landscape around the building.
Yeah, it is really, really spectacular. I think you're right with the landscaping really comes together. You definitely feel like you're in the desert, and it's something unique. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this in an arena with the indoor outdoor uh, type of concession. I mean, there's obviously places where there's indoor outside concessions, but to this extent and the way it merges so well, I think it's really, really special. I like you said, like I said before, the balconies, and it's pretty nice. I
Yeah,
think that you know we're going to talk in the next episode a little bit about some of the other things you guys are planning to do with that outdoor space. Um, but I think yeah, this really hits on it pretty well, at least around the arena. Now, I was hoping that we could also take a look at the seating configuration for the renderings that you have for some of the seating configurations during the sporting events and the concerts to kind of give an idea. Here we go. So this, I was hoping one of you three could take us through a little bit about some of the seating. Looks like you have some suites, and kind of what can the fan expect when they come watch a game here.
So
right.
this is a really intimate bowl. You know, it's a very tight bowl. There's not a bad seat in the house. It's going to feel like you're right on the action for hockey. Currently, we have two levels. We have the primary lower bowl, which is around 8,000 seats, and then we have a single premium concourse above that, which has 20 suites at 20 seats per suite. It's a lot of that's kind of a tongue twister there. And then we have a large club at the premium level as well, which will be opposite in stage, which will have this view here. This is pretty much taken from that club. And then we have two VIP clubs, which will be directly adjacent to the in stage configuration that we'll see in the next slide. Also in this view, you can see we've got two in stage bars that will flank the stage, would have great views to the ice for hockey, and great views from those bars into the stage. Give you a really close feel, like you're right on top of the concert. So it's a pretty exciting bowl. Like I said, very intimate, very small. There's not a bad seat in this house for sure.
And I think one of the things that will make the entire arena have the intimate feel is that when you walk into the arena, there are some arenas I'm sure we've been to that it's like, okay, where's the seating bowl? Where is it? But when you walk in, you will know immediately. And then you walk down into your seats if you have seats in the lower bowl. And so really upon entry, you're already feeling as though you're part of the game or the concert or whatever event might be taking place.
Good point.
Yeah, and when you enter, I would add that you do the entire lower bowl is top fed from grade. So this whole building is sank down, so the event level is buried below ground, and so the overall height of the building is actually relatively low, and it adds to that intimacy that they're talking about.
Yeah, that's great. Well, we have just a few minutes remaining here in this episode, so I wanted to throw it back to you three and see what else can you tell us about the design of this project that we haven't already hit on that you really like to highlight? Was there anything that we missed?
I would say the overall site, just kind of for everyone to understand where we sit. Maybe go to that greater site plan, Scott.
Yeah.
And then I'll talk us through the close site plan. So we are going to be located off of I-10, off of Cook Street, the Cook Street exit. As John Bolton, our GM and of the arena and Palm Springs resident, says, it's the next exit after Costco, if that helps. We're directly adjacent to the Coachella Valley National Wildlife Refuge. So it's got great access. It's going to be an easy site to load in and load out for this capacity that we're showing being directly on I-10. We jump to the next slide. Kind of understand the overall site plan. As you can see, we're directly south of the Classic Club golf course, sitting on roughly 40 acres of land here, surrounded by 3,000 parking spots, and you can see the arena in red. I think the unique thing that most people don't understand is that we actually have two ice sheets in this building. You can see the primary building and ice sheet where the main AHL events, the in-stage concerts will happen. But to the north of that, we have a practice ice sheet and what we're calling community ice sheet. So we'll have a standalone entry to that building for community ice purposes, while it's also being utilized for the AHL team. Another thing that we're also looking at from a sustainability standpoint, we're looking at, it's kind of a no-brainer in the desert. We're looking at photovoltaics to power the arena and provide power back to the grid at some point. So that's still in the works. We're kind of figuring out the capacities required for that. You know, we're not a typical build. We have high peak load. So when there's a concert, that's when we're using all our energy. But during the day, it's sitting idle. So we're not using that much energy. So I mean, we'll be able to power the arena through the photovoltaics alone during off times, which I think is a really great thing. And
Yeah.
like I said, it makes a lot of sense here.
And I would add that that's really where the community ice sheet could play a factor too, is the off days. It really does, it becomes a community building. So it's not an arena that's coming to the desert to, you know, introduce a hockey team and take over. It really is, it can be an amenity asset. And I think that's what's special about this building too.
Yeah, I think also we've designed some interior spaces that would lend itself to, you know, some residency type concert, you know, artists who performers
Yeah.
is a possibility, but we've designed those in so that however long it be, but they, you know, they have some amenities on the I think there are some images as well, but so that there are some areas that they could take over if for some reason they are have a residency. This is one of the VIP clubs, and I think this is an example of so this is on the premium level, but I think this is a good example of how we were successful at combining elements that paid homage to the culture, like the light fixture. The light fixtures that you see are, you know, again, take references and take some visual cues from a woven basket, and then combined that with this wall that you know, has some silver and gold, again, kind of a throwback, kind of a little bit of jewelry to the space with a faux wood ceiling treatment. And I think that we had a lot of fun working to get the successful balance and combination of old and new cultures, and I think it turned out really well. I think there are a few shots of the club that show that as well.
Well,
premium entry.
just want to say, you know, thanks to you three for joining us, taking some time to share this with us. This is obviously very, very exciting for people out here in the Coachella Valley that have been anticipating this project for some time now. And you've really shed quite a bit of light on that for a lot of people out here. And so thanks again. Thanks to everyone who has joined us for this episode. Our second will be further about the location and some of the exteriors we'll dive more into, and that will drop February 22nd, and we'll see y'all then. Thanks.
Thank you.